at or protected.
Good evening, I'm Nina Hossain. People in Stalybridge have described the damage to their homes caused by a localised tornado as 90 seconds of madness. Though short, it had a huge impact, damaging around 100 properties in Greater Manchester. Some houses had their roofs torn off. The Liberal Democrats have called on the Prime Minister to convene a Cobra meeting after the devastation caused. Elsewhere, Storm Gerrit wreaked havoc in parts of Scotland, leading to yet more chaos on major train lines. With the latest, here's our correspondent, Ben Chapman.
It's hard to imagine the intensity of the wind that ripped through here last night. Hard to believe the severity of the destruction it has caused. Residents were woken in the middle of the night to the sound of a tornado tearing through their town.
It was like a sudden 10 minutes and that was it. It was just like a hit and run. You heard this almighty thud against the sort of bedroom wall, which is like the third story up. And it was the gable end from next door, hit our wall on the way down.
Those whose homes were evacuated overnight returned in the light of day to assess the damage and in some cases count themselves lucky. Gareth's two teenage sons were in the upstairs bedrooms when the roof from next door came crashing through theirs.
My son in the front bedroom was sat underneath his cabin bed, gaming, and so he's been very lucky.
He's come through his bedroom?
He's come through his bedroom, and my lad at the back, the chimney stack, has gone through his room and he's been sat on that wall, and how he's not been seriously injured or worse, I don't know.
The police's description of this as a localised tornado certainly fits with the damage it has caused. This is somebody's roof, which is now just lying on the pavement. And there have also been just pockets of destruction. The vast majority of this town has escaped completely unscathed. Further north, in Ayrshire, even things designed to thrive on strong winds were no match for Storm Gerrit. Thousands of people in Scotland remained without power following yesterday's blizzards brought by the storm. In Fife, flooding caused homes and businesses to be evacuated in the town of Cooper. The speed with which the filthy water rushed through left residents with little chance to keep possessions dry.
It was scary because the water flow was really fast, you know, it was really strong. The current, it was like a current in it as well, and it was really fast, so we never had a chance to move much at all.
In Greater Manchester, the clean-up and the consequences may last months for residents forced from their homes. But just as remarkable as the tornado itself is the fact that no one here was hurt. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Stalybridge.
An Israeli Defence Force official has told one of the country's public broadcasters that the wrong munition was used in a strike on a refugee camp in Gaza on Christmas Eve. The Hamas-run health ministry say at least 86 people were killed, taking the total number of Palestinian deaths in Gaza to more than 21,000. Carrie Davis reports.
In an increasingly deserted Gaza City, Israeli forces say they're still battling Hamas and destroying the group's northern hub. And in the south, their military operations are expanding in Khan Yunis, the Strip's second largest city. While thousands of residents have fled the fighting, others stayed. The Palestinian Red Crescent says at least 20 were killed by bombing near one of the city's hospitals. Survival here comes at a cost. Grief is the price so often paid. Israeli officials have again brushed off international calls for a ceasefire.
Hamas's very existence is a threat to Israelis' way of life, and we will continue to explore every avenue to secure our hostages' release and the dismantling of this terrorist regime.
These homes in the Maghazi refugee camp were destroyed on Sunday, killing at least 86 people, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Now, an Israeli military official has admitted the wrong munition was used, and that caused extensive collateral damage. Safe refuge for civilians is almost impossible to find. It's believed around 85% of Gazans have fled their homes, and a growing number are forced to shelter in makeshift camps. This man came to central Gaza from Khan Yunis after his house was bombed. Our homes were demolished and my son was killed, he says. There is no good shelter. Every time we go to any area, they target us there. There's little distraction, so when it's offered, it's cherished. Volunteers, themselves trapped by this war, bring a little brightness to a refugee camp in Rafah. The smiles of children here made more precious by their scarcity. Carrie Davis, ITV News.
Back here, and police are still guarding a cul-de-sac in Sheffield after a man was killed by a car hitting a crowd of people. It happened yesterday, about a mile and a half from the city centre. A 46-year-old man died. A 23-year-old man who was arrested on suspicion of murder continues to be questioned by detectives. Holly Willoughby will return to television to present Dancing on Ice in January. ITV announced she'll present the show alongside Stephen Mulhern. Mulhern will replace Philip Schofield, who left ITV earlier this year after he admitted having an affair with a younger former colleague on This Morning. And commemorative coins celebrating Sir Winston Churchill, Buckingham Palace and the RNLI have been unveiled by the Royal Mint. They're among 5 new designs celebrating key events and anniversaries taking place in 2024. Finally this evening, firefighters were called to Blackpool Tower this afternoon as flames were seen at the top of the tourist attraction. The tower was evacuated and people were warned to stay away from the area. However, on closer inspection, fire crews realised it wasn't a fire at all. Paul Crone is in Blackpool and sent this.
Yes, it's definitely a case of never believe what you see. It can often be deceptive. The alarm was raised at Blackpool Tower at round about 2:15. It's thought there was a fire about 380 feet up the tower. People were taking videos. The emergency services were called. All in vain. I've got Neil Taylor from Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service. Neil, what wasn't a fire? What was it?
No, it wasn't actually a fire. There were some genuine concerns from members of the public, and we had a number of calls that came into our control centre stating that there appeared to be a fire right at the very top of Blackpool Tower. Once they got eyes on, they obviously realised, no, we're pretty certain there's no fire. Then they checked everything, they made sure it was safe, there was no sources of heat, no flame, and obviously they could then stand everything down. What it actually was, I know you'd be keen to know what it was some orange netting that was, not sure exactly what the purpose of it was, but in the strong winds the netting has become loose, got dislodged and flapped about in the wind. So from ground floor level I can see how members of the public have thought, yes, there could be something to be concerned about there.
Okay, Neil, thank you very much indeed. So there we go, no fire, just netting.
Paul Crone in Blackpool. That is all for now. I'll be back with the latest at 10. Whatever you're doing, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.